One of the most fundamental mistakes that people make in life is they think that they need to pick between living in the moment and having discipline. And they think that if they were to follow this life of having discipline, they suddenly lose all of their ability to have fun and be spontaneous and enjoy life and go out with friends and do things they want to do, right? They think it's a trade-off between doing the things you should be doing to look after yourself in the long term and living in the moment. But the reality is that trying to live just for the moment, and in doing so, turning your back completely on discipline and holding yourself up to high standards, actually makes your life incredibly boring, right? People run from discipline because they think that a disciplined life, a regimented life, is a boring one. But just for a minute, I want you to imagine two versions of yourself, right? The first version is really quite disciplined. Imagine you wake up at the same time every morning and you roll out of bed and you have a to-do list that you've planned the night before and you know exactly what you need to be doing that day, right? And then you go about your day, maybe you go to the gym, you go for a run, you eat the food you need to eat, you're taking care of the things you need to take care of on your to-do list, even if you don't really feel like doing them today. You're showing up for the people you need to be there for, you're being who the world needs you to be. And in doing so, you're having to be fairly regimented. So that's version one. Let's park that for a second. And then imagine version two, the version of you that thinks, well, if I'm disciplined, if I follow some sort of schedule and routine and have habits, then I can't be spontaneous, my life is going to be boring. And so with that mindset in mind, you go about life just living for the moment, right? You might wake up when you feel like it because you stayed up really late the night before scrolling apps on your phone because you were living in the moment. You were really enjoying that moment on TikTok. And then when you get out of bed, you haven't really planned what you're going to do today. So you kind of fumble around and you do a bit of work, but you get distracted, then you do a little bit more, but oh shit, you shouldn't have been working on that thing. You should have been working on something else. And then you're in a rush and then you're late. And then maybe you go out that night with some friends and you go to a nightclub and you get drunk and it's 3 a.m. in the morning and you send a text to somebody you shouldn't be sending a text to and then eat a kebab and a bunch of calories and then you go back to sleep and you repeat the process. Now, in the short term, you would think that the person in the second scenario is living a really fun life, right? If you were to match up those two things for one day, person two, fairly fun life. Person one, fairly regimented life. But we're speaking about a life here, right? We have to measure this on the scale of years and on the scale of decades. Now, who is going to have a more boring life out of those two versions of you over the scale of years? The person who shows up and does what they need to do, and in doing so unlocks time and energy and resource and fitness and connections and money and acclaim and recognition and everything that comes along with working hard, with doing what you need to do, with being the person people expect you to be, with being disciplined. Or the person who wakes up and does what they want and is living for the moment and YOLO, but in doing so, they're not really building a future. They're living for the moment, but they're not really considering that at some point in the future, that future is not going to exist because they haven't been putting in place the building blocks to do it. And that's because they haven't been living a disciplined life. Now, of course, when I lay it out like this, it's very obvious that the way to live a non-boring life, the way to live a meaningful life, an exciting life, is to, in the moment, even when you don't feel like it, have discipline, right? It's to wake up and follow that plan you made. It's to, make the plan in the first place, right? If that's where we need to start in this video, make sure you have a plan of what you're going to be doing every day, and then wake up at the time you told yourself you were going to wake up at. So that means going to bed at the time you told yourself you were going to bed, being disciplined when it comes to your bedtime, waking up, following the plan, getting done what you need to, and then showing up for the people who need you to show up for them. That is a disciplined life, but it comes with that big long list of benefits, right? It comes with building a future for yourself, and a future where you have that time and you have that energy and you have that money and you have that access to your network and the people that you've been there for is really exciting. Imagine the places you can go to, the people you can meet, the cultures you can experience, the things that you can unlock if you live a disciplined life. If there is one person that watches this video and recognizes the fact that actually just living for the moment, like you might be right now, is actually hindering you in the long term, it's actually making your life incredibly boring 10 years from now when you have no options, when the runway has ran out, right? When your body isn't what it used to be and you're a bit unfit and you're a bit overweight and you're a bit tired and you're a bit bored of your job and you don't like your partner and you don't have any money. Is that an exciting life? Like, really? Is what you're doing right now taking you to a place that sounds very exciting, or is it that you should be living with discipline? Is it that you're currently just hiding away from doing the more difficult thing? Because it is difficult in the moment. Like, I live a fairly regimented life. I live, from the outside looking in, maybe a fairly boring life. And even for me, somebody who has been trying to do this for the best part of a decade, there are days, there are weeks when I wake up and I can't be asked. And I don't have 100% success with trying to be disciplined, right? There are days where I bullshit myself and there are days where I don't do the things I need to be doing. But for the most part, I realize that doing what I need to do in the moment now is unlocking that future for me, right? I'm a couple of years away from being 30, and what my 30s look like will be a direct consequence of everything that I have so far done in my 20s. All of those early mornings, all of those waking up, doing the work that I didn't want to do, going to the gym when I didn't want to do it, picking the healthier meal when I didn't fancy it, being there for the people when it was difficult, showing up in the way I needed to. Every single little granular decision that has been made because of discipline will help me in the future. So like I say, if there's one person watching this who, before you clicked on this video, you genuinely believed that there was a trade-off between having fun in life and being disciplined, I just need you to realize that actually they are one in the same thing, right? There's no reason why you can't be disciplined the majority of the time, do what you need to do the majority of the time, and then reap the rewards of doing that by having huge amounts of fun. There's nothing really fun about just living in the moment if that's all you're doing, right? What is the meaning of life if it's the next Jaeger bomb? What is the meaning of life if it's the next 2 hours on TikTok? What's the meaning of life if it's the next casual hookup or texting somebody you shouldn't, or whatever fucking thing you want to do in the moment right now, which you know somewhere deep down, although it might be fun in this moment, although it might feel good right now, is bad for your future, is bad for a version of yourself that you're going to live in the shoes of at some point in the future. Discipline is the thing, as Jocko Willink says, that will give you freedom. There is no freedom without discipline. There is no room to make choices. There is no room to do what you want to do. There is no room to build a future if you're just YOLOing it around and hoping for the best day after day. And so I guess that's my challenge to you. If you are currently living in the moment to the point where you feel it might be detrimental to your future, and instead you want to have some discipline in your life, after you finish watching this video, make a little list of things that you want to do for the next week, right? Maybe it's going to the gym a bit more often. Maybe it's trying to do 7,000 steps a day. Maybe it's texting your parents. Maybe it's focusing that bit more on work, or working a bit later on a side project that will give you freedom in the future. Whatever it is for you, whatever it means, build a list of the things that you know you ought to be doing, that you know you deep down want to be doing, and then follow it for just a week. That's all I'm asking. For 1 week, follow that list. Be disciplined with yourself, hold yourself to a higher standard, and see what happens. And once you've proven to yourself after 1 week that you're still alive, that your life doesn't feel that much more boring, that your life doesn't feel that much more different, but actually you're making progress and that feels incredibly good somewhere deep down, follow it. Keep going. Live a more disciplined life. There is nothing more boring than living for the moment and then realizing that the moment has passed and you have nothing left. And there is nothing more exciting than building a life that you can truly be proud of, a life that you have designed with your choices, but you make those choices through the lens of discipline. So you need to be more disciplined, or I guess as Hamza says at the end of his videos, you need to do the hard work, especially when you don't feel like it, because that's exactly what discipline is.